Hi everyone. Now I'm going to talk about the waterborne diseases and the control measures. First, we will see what is the waterborne disease. If the disease is transmitted through the water, then we can say that is the waterborne disease. Mainly, the disease can be transmitted through the water we are using for drinking purpose and also the water which is used for food preparation. These two play a major role. Majority of the waterborne diseases affects small children due to poor hygiene and also the weak immunity. In developing countries, no proper water treatment plants, especially in the rural areas, and the most of the diseases are found to be life threatening. According to the WHO, World Health Organization report, about 844 million people lack even basic drinking water service. 159 million people dependent on the surface water for the drinking source. And 2 billion people utilize drinking water that is contaminated with the fecal material. These water sources can transmit the waterborne diseases, mainly the pathogenic microbes, their toxic exudates. They cause serious conditions, that is the disease, waterborne disease. Next, we will see the introduction. The illness that is caused by microbes like bacteria, virus, and which we are when we are ingested them through the contaminated water or by coming in contact with the fecal material. So these things they are responsible for the initiation of the waterborne diseases and that leads to many disease formation in not only in small children but also in adults and elderly people, and they spread while taking bath, washing, then drinking water, or by eating food exposed to contaminated water. And the diarrhea and vomiting are the most commonly reported symptoms due to this waterborne illness. Many bacteria, virus, protozoa, and parasites they can cause this waterborne disease. And now we'll see the bacterial pathogens which are transmitted through the water and the formation of the diseases. First one is the Escherichia coli, Salmonella species, Shigella species, Vibrio cholerae, Yersinia enterocolitica, Campylobacter jejuni, and Pseudomonas species. And the important viral pathogens which are transmitted through the water are adenovirus, hepatitis A, hepatitis E virus, rotavirus, norovirus, and poliovirus. And next we'll see the protozoan pathogens which are transmitted through the water. Cryptosporidium parvum, Giardia lamblia, Endomoeba histolytica, Naegleria fowleri, and Toxoplasma gondii. And next we'll see the helminth pathogens, Dragonculus medinensis and Cystosoma species. And now we will see the types of waterborne diseases. The waterborne diseases are categorized into two major types. First one is the diarrheal and the next one is the non-diarrheal. That is, if the pathogen was transmitted through the water, that leads to the formation of diarrhea. That is the first one. And in the second type, apart from the diarrheal symptom, it will affect other organs and cause some other disease. First, we will see diarrheal one. This diarrheal forms they infect the gastrointestinal tract of the pathogen of the human being and they cause diarrhea. Examples: E. coli, Campylobacter jejuni, Shigella dysenteriae, Vibrio cholerae, Entamoeba histolytica, Giardia intestinalis, Giardia lamblia, rotavirus, Cryptosporidium parvum, and Norwalk like virus. So in this bacteria and this protozoans, so and this virus, so these are the things that can cause the diarrheal symptoms when it is ingested through the persons. Then second one, non-diarrheal, that is the waterborne pathogens that can affect other parts of the body. The examples are Salmonella typhi, Legionella, hepatitis A virus, and poliovirus. So these are the organisms which may cause non-diarrheal infection. And next we will see the bacterial diseases. Now we will see some of the organisms that are causing infection in human by spreading through the water. First one is Escherichia coli. E. coli this organism cause diarrhea. It affects the immunocompromised individuals, that means which are poor in their immune status, both young as well as the elderly people, and that leads to dehydration from prolonged illness, because due to this diarrhea, there is loss of fluids may occur continuously, so that leads to prolonged illness and dehydration. And the symptoms, common symptoms of this Escherichia coli, that is diarrhea, is dizziness, dehydration, pale skin, and loss of consciousness in severe cases. And the second one is the Vibrio cholerae. Vibrio cholerae, it is a comma-shaped bacteria. It is responsible for causing one important disease called cholera. And mainly it will be occurred through the contaminated food or drinking water. Mainly it will be transmitted through the seafoods, that is shellfishes, and also from the marine origin. And the common symptoms may include watery diarrhea, nausea, that is vomiting sensation, cramps, rapid pulse, vomiting, and hypovolemic shock. Hypovolemic shock that occurs mainly due to the extensive severe dehydration due to loss of fluids, that may leads to this hypovolemic shock. In severe cases, the death may occur in 12 to 18 hours if untreated. Then the next one is the Shigella dysenteriae. This organism, it also causes dysentery, and this disease is mainly characterized by the frequent passage of feces with blood and mucus. This is called bacillary dysentery, which is transmitted through the water. Next one is the Salmonella typhi. This bacteria, it causes typhoid. The infection caused by Salmonella is said to be salmonellosis. Mainly it is transmitted through the contaminated water, and the common symptoms are diarrhea, fever, vomiting, abdominal cramps. And apart from that, spleen and liver will enlarge. It can last up to 4 weeks and may cause death if untreated. Some people with typhoid fever develop a rash called rose spots on the abdomen as well as in the chest. And next one is the Leptospira species. Leptospira, this organism is a spirochete. Leptospira is a spirochete. It was first observed in the year 1907 in the kidney tissue. This Leptospira, mainly it will be transmitted through the water and also by the animal urine, and the common symptoms are flu-like symptoms, and then it resolves. And this infection occurs in one more phase, that is second phase, that occurs, which involves the symptoms like meningitis, that is the inflammation of the meninges, that is the membrane surrounding the brain, as well as the liver damage and the kidney failure. So these are the clinical manifestations of this leptospirosis. And next one, Campylobacter jejuni. This Campylobacter, it is the common cause of food poisoning. This organism, it produces dysentery-like symptoms along with high fever, and the infectious period ranges up to 2 to 10 days. The next one, Mycobacterium marinum. It is a species of Mycobacterium, the acid fast bacteria, and their infection occurs through water and exposure in swimming pools. And the common symptoms are, that is the development of lesions on the elbow, knees, and also in the feet. Mainly the people who used to go for swimming pools. And also it develops the lesions on the hands. That is those who have close contact with the aquariums. So these are the symptoms you can see. And the lesions may be painless or painful. And the next one is Legionella pneumophila. Legionella is said to cause legionellosis. It causes the disease called Pontiac fever. It is the acute non-fatal respiratory disease. It produces milder symptoms resembling acute influenza. This disease is also said to be Legionnaires' disease, and it has the symptoms such as fever, chills, pneumonia, that means it mainly affects the lungs, anorexia, vomiting sensation, muscle aches, malaise, and occasionally diarrhea and vomiting. Next, we will see the viral diseases. First one is the poliovirus. Poliovirus, it is an important one. Nearly 90 to 95% of the patients show no symptoms. 4 to 8% show symptoms with delirium, headache, fever, seizures, and spastic paralysis. 1% have symptoms of non-paralytic aseptic meningitis. The rest have serious symptoms resulting in paralysis or death. So this poliovirus, it is a very important one that will be causing lifelong illness in the affected persons. So it produces the symptom like delirium, that is serious disturbance in the mental abilities that results in confused thinking. And also, apart from this delirium, it develops headache and then seizures. Seizures are nothing but uncontrolled electrical disturbances in the brain which cause changes in the behavior that affects the membrane which surrounds the brain. So it is said to be meningitis, and it also it may cause paralysis or death. The next one, norovirus. This virus causes diarrhea, vomiting, nausea, that is vomiting sensation, and stomach pain. Next one, hepatitis A virus. Hepatitis A virus, this virus, it entered mainly through the oral cavity, that is by consumption of this water. Chronic symptoms include fatigue, fever, abdominal pain, nausea, that is vomiting sensation, diarrhea, weight loss, itching, jaundice, and depression. So, hepatitis C virus is mainly meant for causing this jaundice. So, apart from this, the other symptoms can be also seen in the affected ones. Next one, hepatitis E virus. It causes acute hepatitis, that is the liver disease, and the symptoms are fever, fatigue, loss of appetite, nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, jaundice, dark urine, clay colored stool, and joint pain. And next we will see the protozoan diseases that is transmitted through the water. The important one is the Entamoeba histolytica. Entamoeba histolytica, it is the important protozoan pathogen that is transmitted by unknowingly consuming the cyst in the food. Cyst, it is the one resting form of this protozoan, and that will be, if it is consumed through the food, naturally the person may gain this disease. And they cause abdominal discomfort, fatigue, weight loss, diarrhea, bloating, that is gas in the stomach, and also in the fever. And the next important protozoan is the Giardia lamblia. Giardia lamblia is called lambliosis. It causes diarrhea, abdominal discomfort, bloating, and flatulence, gas collection in the stomach. And also one more pathogen, Cryptosporidium parvum, that spreads through water filters and the membranes that can't be disinfected. So this is through some manual defects in the water filters, and also through animal manure and seasonal runoff water. So when this organism, it will be get into the oral cavity, it will develop symptoms like, that is flu like symptoms, watery diarrhea, loss of appetite, substantial loss of weight, bloating, and nausea. And the next one is Cyclospora cavitanensis that spreads through the sewage, that is the waste water, and the non-treated drinking water. So this will be due to the unhygienic practices, and the main symptoms include cramps, nausea, that is vomiting sensation, vomiting, muscle aches, fever, and fatigue. And the last one is Naegleria fowleri. This protozoan, it spreads through non-chlorinated water. Usually the water that will be used for consumption purpose, that is the potable water, it should be chlorinated periodically. Otherwise the microbes can propagate and may cause illness. So this Naegleria fowleri spreads through the non-chlorinated water, and the symptoms include headache, vomiting, confusion, loss of balance, light sensitivity, hallucination, that is the that will be in the imaginary condition, fatigue, weight loss, fever, and coma. So these are the extreme conditions that can be seen if the person is infected through this pathogen. And next we will see the helminth pathogens. Dragongulus medinensis. Female worm emerges from the host skin and releases larvae in the water. When it enters into the human body, it causes light fever, itchy rash, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, dizziness, which is followed by the formation of painful blister on the lower body parts. And next we will see the preventive measures. So we have seen the list of the many pathogens, either bacteria or protozoa, or this protozoa or the viral pathogens that can enter into the human body through the water source, and they may be causing the disease to the human being. And there are certain measures which can take in order to prevent the disease. So we will see the preventive measures. For prevention, the important one is the good environmental management. We have to maintain our environment. We have to maintain the good personal hygiene. Hygiene is very important. So if you follow the good hygienic practices, naturally we can get rid of these infections. Waterborne diseases are mainly due to improper management of water resources. So proper management of water resources is very essential. The water has to be purified and then it has to be disinfected, means naturally we can get rid of these infections. Proper management leads to cleaner and healthier environment. The water has to be properly disinfected, and then water pipes should be checked for cracks and leaks. Then in home, water should be boiled or filtered. We can use either the filtered water, or we have to boil the water for drinking purpose. So the water has to be sufficiently, it has to be treated, means naturally there is no possibility for getting the disease. So if you follow these measures, naturally we can get rid of this infection. Thank you.